What happens when a controversial prince walks into the lion's den of American late-night television? It started like any other interview, but it didn't stay that way for long. Tonight, we're diving into the jaw-dropping confrontation that had audiences frozen and social media on fire. Prince Harry sat down across from Bill Maher, and what followed was one of the most uncomfortable, confrontational TV moments in recent memory. Don't forget to subscribe and drop your thoughts below, because this clash only gets more intense the longer it goes. The lights blazed hot on Bill Maher as he leaned back in his chair, a familiar smirk tugging at his face. Across from him, Prince Harry adjusted his blazer, the weight of anticipation thick in the air. The audience knew, when Maher had someone this high profile in the hot seat, nothing was off limits. So, Harry? Maher began, voice laced with curiosity and mischief. You've gone from palace walls to a Montecito mansion. How's that freedom treating you? Harry offered a measured smile. It's been liberating, actually. For the first time, I make my own decisions. No centuries-old institution breathing down my neck. Maher nodded slowly. Liberating, interesting word choice. 'Cause to most people, it looks like you swapped one institution for another. You don't answer to the crown anymore. You answer to Netflix and Spotify execs. How is that different? The audience laughed. Harry's jaw clenched. There's a difference between choosing your partnerships, he replied, and having your life dictated by archaic tradition. Maher leaned in. You had privilege, world-class education, global platform, a life most people dream of. Then you come to America and talk about how tough it was. Isn't that just a little tone deaf? Harry's cheeks flushed. With all due respect, Bill, you're reducing a complex reality. Yes, I had privilege. I also had zero privacy, no autonomy, and I watched the system destroy my mother. That shifted the tone. Your mother, Maher said, his voice sharper now. Princess Diana used her spotlight to bring attention to AIDS patients, landmine victims, people who needed a voice. She worked within the system to change it. Why couldn't you? Harry gripped the armrests of his chair. Because the system killed her, and I wasn't going to let it do the same to my wife or my kids. Maher wasn't letting up. But here's what I don't get. You say you want privacy. Then you sit down with Oprah for a tell-all, write a memoir spilling family secrets, and sign a Netflix deal. That's not privacy. That's brand management. Sometimes you have to tell your own story before someone else does, Harry replied. Or, Maher cut in. You just want to monetize the drama. Come on, Harry. You're still using your royal titles. You're still cashing in on that royal connection. You can't have it both ways. The tension in the room spiked. Harry's voice rose. I'm not cashing in. I'm telling the truth about a broken system. Your truth, Maher mocked. See, that's the problem. There isn't your truth and my truth. There's just truth. And the truth is, you made millions complaining about a life 99% of people would trade everything for. The Harry bristled. You think I don't care about those people? I've worked with veterans, mental health charities, people in crisis. And that's admirable, Maher interjected. But you've also made your personal pain part of your brand. There's a difference between advocacy and self-promotion. Harry's tone sharpened. I'm trying to break cycles of trauma. Maher chuckled coldly. You're a prince, Harry. You have therapists on speed dial. Most people can't afford a checkup, let alone trauma healing retreats. Let's not pretend money doesn't make that easier. Money doesn't solve everything. No, Maher agreed, but it sure helps. And you talk about breaking the cycle, but all you've really done is turn your family dysfunction into a business model. Silence. The studio went dead still. Even the camera seemed hesitant to move. Harry leaned forward, his voice taut. You don't know what it's like. To live under constant scrutiny. To have your entire life dissected from birth. You're right, Maher said coolly. I don't. But I also never had a trust fund or a palace. or the power to meet presidents whenever I wanted. Everyone has problems, Harry, but not everyone has your tools to deal with them. The room was heavy with silence now. Harry was visibly rattled. Maher, calm, steady, maybe even enjoying the moment. And then, Harry leaned in, his voice low but sharp. Look, Bill. Harry inhaled sharply, trying to steady himself. Look, I get that your whole brand is being provocative, Bill. But what you're doing right now, it's exactly the kind of toxic performance that made me walk away from that world in the first place. This constant tearing down of people, this cynical need to poke holes in everything, it's exhausting. Maher cocked an eyebrow. Oh, so I'm the villain now. Not the guy who went on global television to expose his family's private life. Harry, I'm asking questions millions of people already wonder. If you can't handle basic scrutiny, maybe don't sit down for interviews. Harry's voice cracked slightly. Scrutiny. You're not scrutinizing. You're attacking. You're dragging my mother's legacy through the mud, questioning my motives, and brushing off very real conversations about mental health and institutional racism. Whoa, Maher said, throwing his hands up. Hold on. When did I attack your mother? I said she was admired and used her platform well. As for institutional racism, that wasn't even part of this conversation. It's all connected, Bill. Harry shot back. The way the media dehumanized Meghan. The silence from the royal institution. The way people like you trivialize those experiences because they don't fit your narrative. Maher leaned back, surprised now. People like me. What does that mean? Harry's eyes locked on his. People who sit comfortably within systems of privilege and mock others for calling those systems out. You turn real issues into punchlines because actually confronting them would mean looking in the mirror. Maher's tone sharpened. My position. Harry, I've spent decades ripping apart institutions. Church, government, media, corporate America. You name it. But I don't expect applause or a Netflix deal every time I criticize something. And I certainly don't frame myself as a victim while doing it. I've never claimed to be a victim. Harry shot back. Oh, really? Maher scoffed. Because that's all I've heard for years. The family didn't treat us well. The press was mean. The system was racist. When do you stop blaming everyone else and own the decisions you made? Harry stood abruptly, composure shattered. On my decisions, I did. I left. I protected my wife. I protected my children. I spoke out when it would have been easier to stay silent. That's what taking responsibility looks like. Maher stood too, matching his energy. No, you ran. You could have stayed and fought to reform things from inside. You had influence. You had access. Instead, you bailed and now you're critiquing it all from a mansion in California. Harry's voice was almost a shout. Do you have any idea how hard it was to walk away? To give up my military ranks, my causes, my family? That wasn't a choice. It was survival. Oh, spare me. Maher waved a hand. You gave up titles and got a $100 million streaming deal. That's not a sacrifice. That's a pivot. The audience shifted, the tension in the studio electric and uncomfortable. The laughter was gone. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was real. Harry pointed a finger, fury in his voice. You know what your real problem is, Bill. You can't stand that someone actually had the guts to leave a corrupt system instead of making smug jokes about it from a safe distance. Corrupt system. Maher laughed, bitter and disbelieving. You're talking about the British monarchy, not the mob. These are your grandparents, Harry. Bill Maher. We're talking about your father. Your brother. Are you seriously calling your own family corrupt? Prince Harry, I'm calling the institution corrupt. Not the people. Bill Maher, the people or the institution. You can't separate them. And here's what I don't get. If the system is so rotten, why are you still using the titles? Why are you still Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan? If you wanted a clean break, drop the royal titles, walk away completely. Harry hesitates. His mouth opens, then closes. He looks cornered by Prince Harry. It's complicated. Bill Maher leaning in. No, it's not. You want the prestige without the responsibility. You want to be royal when it pays, and a regular guy when it doesn't. Prince Harry, that's not true. Bill Maher. Isn't it? When you're signing Netflix and Spotify deals, you're the Duke of Sussex. But when people criticize you, suddenly you're just Harry trying to live a quiet life. Which is it? So Harry starts pacing, visibly agitated. Prince Harry, you're twisting my words. Bill Maher, I'm not twisting anything. I'm pointing out contradictions. You say you want privacy, but do tell all interviews. You say you want to help, but charge speaking fees most charities can't afford. You say you left for your family's safety, then publish intimate details about them in your memoir. Prince Harry snappin', I shared those details to give context, to explain why we had to leave. Bill Maher cold. Or maybe you shared them because Random House paid you $20 million. Let's not pretend this is all altruism. You've built a brand out of being the royal who escaped, and that brand is lucrative. Harry stops pacing. His fists are clenched. His jaw tightens. Prince Harry, you have no idea what it's like. To have every part of your life dissected, judged. To have motives assigned to you by people who don't know you at all. Bill Maher's calm light. Actually, I do. I've been in the public eye for decades. The difference. I chose this life. You were born into yours. But then you chose to stay in it, just in a different way. You can't have it both ways. Prince Harry. I didn't choose to be born a royal. Bill Maher, no. But you chose how to respond. And what you've chosen is to monetize your grievances while demanding to be left alone. You do see why people call that hypocrisy, right? The tension is razor sharp now. Harry's face flushes red, eyes narrowed, die. Prince Harry, I'm done with this conversation. Bill Maher smirking. Of course you are. That's always the move, isn't it? When things get uncomfortable, you walk away. Prince Harry. I'm not walking away from anything that matters. Bill Maher, no. You walked away from your military role, your UK charities, your brother, the Commonwealth. At some point, Harry, you stop running and start facing things like an adult. The air in the studio shifts. It feels like a punch landed. The audience gasps. Prince Harry, voice shaking. You want to talk about being an adult. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan while you were sitting on late night TV cracking jokes. I've worked with wounded veterans, started mental health campaigns, tried to make a difference. What have you done? Besides mock people from behind a desk. Maher's eyes flash. He's enjoying the heat. Bill Maher. What have I done? I've called out bullshit, wherever I see it, including yours. Right now, I see a man who can't stand being challenged without throwing a fit. Prince Harry, this isn't a tantrum. This is me standing up to a smug bully who thinks having a platform makes him right. Bill Maher mocking a bully. I'm asking basic questions. If that feels like bullying, maybe the problem isn't me. The Harry takes a step toward the desk. His voice lowers. Almost a growl. A Prince Harry. You want to know the real problem? It's people like you, who've never had to make the kind of choices I've made, yet sit there judging like you know what's best. Bill Maher, standing now, matching Harry's energy. You mean the hard choices, like which multi-million-dollar media deal to sign first, Netflix or Spotify. The room falls dead silent. Even the cameras seem to hesitate. This is no longer just an interview. It's a duel, Prince Harry, cold lie. I came here for an honest conversation. What I got was a cheap ambush dressed up as journalism. Bill Maher, no. You came here expecting softball questions. What you got was accountability. That might help you promote your latest project without any real challenge. But that's not how this works. When you step into the public spotlight, you don't get to dictate the conversation. I'm not trying to dictate anything, Harry said, straining to stay calm. I'm trying to have a respectful dialogue. Respectful. Bill Maher's voice rose. You just called me a bully and implied I've never contributed anything to society. How is that respectful? That was the moment Harry snapped. His tone shifted. His composure broke. "Because you haven't," he shot back. "All you do is tear people down and make snide, cynical jokes about issues that actually matter. You're not part of the solution, Bill. You're part of the problem." Maher leaned forward, face flushed. "Part of the problem. I've spent the last 30 years exposing institutional hypocrisy. The difference is, I don't get paid millions to play the victim. And I don't fall apart when someone pushes back." "I'm not falling apart," Harry said, visibly shaking now. "I'm defending myself against unfair attacks." "Unfair," Maher scoffed. "Everything I've said tonight is based on your own statements. If pointing out contradictions feels like an attack, maybe it's because your narrative doesn't hold up." Harry's voice cracked with emotion. "My story has contradictions because life is messy, Bill. Because sometimes you're forced to choose between bad options. Sometimes protecting your family means disappointing the world. And sometimes," Maher interrupted, voice like ice, "it means saying what people want to hear instead of what they need to hear." "Which one are you doing right now?" That was it. Harry rose from his chair, fury on his face. "You know what? I'm done. Done with this interview, done with this show, and done pretending this isn't just a cheap setup to humiliate me." "Oh, now it's a setup?" Maher replied, dripping with sarcasm. "Because I asked you about your own words and actions. If you can't see the difference between a conversation and a character assassination," Harry said, "maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews at all. Maybe you shouldn't be giving them." Maher snapped. "If you can't handle a few questions," Harry's voice dropped, but it pulsed with restrained rage. "Maybe I shouldn't waste my time talking to people who decided who I was before I even opened my mouth." "I haven't decided anything," Maher countered. "I'm just trying to understand how someone born with everything could still paint himself as a victim." The words hit like a punch. Harry's face went pale, then red again. "You think I'm feeling sorry for myself, that this is about me. You know what it's actually about? Accountability. For systems that protect themselves while leaving people behind." "And you got rich while doing it?" Maher fired back. "That's not activism. That's branding. It always comes back to money with you." Harry snapped. "You think if someone stands for something, they must be faking it. That no one has principles unless they're broke." "I can believe in principle," Maher said coldly. "I just haven't seen it from you." Silence. The studio air felt thick. The audience held their breath. Harry stared at Maher, stunned, furious, wounded. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper, but every word cut deep. "You know what this conversation tells me? That I was right not to trust this show. I came here in good faith. You turned it into theater, and not even good theater. Just a circus built on mockery and cheap applause." "Harry," Maher began. "No," Harry interrupted. "I'm talking now. You've made a career out of ridiculing people trying to create change. You attack anyone who challenges the system, and then you pretend to be surprised when they don't want to play along. You're not a truth teller, Bill. You're an entertainer feeding off pain you'll never understand." Maher's face darkened. "At least I'm honest about who I am. I don't wear the mask of a humanitarian while cashing Netflix checks." Harry had already turned to leave, his voice echoing behind him. "And I don't pretend to be a journalist while orchestrating hit pieces for laughs." "Where are you going?" Maher called after him. "We're not done here." Harry stopped at the edge of the stage and turned back one last time. His voice sliced through the air. "Yes, we are. This interview is over. So is any respect I had for you, or this platform. You can't just walk out. Watch me." And with that, Prince Harry strode off the stage, leaving Bill Maher standing alone at his desk, the audience stunned into silence, and television history forever changed. The cameras kept rolling for a few seconds, catching Maher's blank stare, the full weight of what had just happened sinking in. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat, almost hollow. "Well, I guess that's one way to end an interview." This brutal showdown between Prince Harry and Bill Maher exposed what happens when two powerful egos collide over privilege, truth, and public accountability. The raw emotion, the clash of values, and the moment one man walked away made for one of the most unforgettable confrontations in modern TV history. What do you think? Was Maher out of line? Or was Harry just not ready to be challenged? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe for more of the most intense moments in entertainment.